Welcome to the Work-Life Balance Podcast. I am Kara.
And I am Maggie.
Together, we're a power real estate team with the Bajetti Partners in Nashville.
We believe that the hustle culture of today's driven entrepreneur who lives and works in Middle Tennessee
requires balance.
Insurance should never be a hurdle when purchasing a home. It's one of the most important purchases of your life and should be handled with proper care.
Whether that be your first home purchase or the next addition to your portfolio, reach out to the Sally Insurance Agency with Shelter Insurance for a free consultation so you are confident that you are protected when it matters the most.
Call Shay and Sally at 865-671-6451.
Hey guys, welcome back with Maggie and Kara in Work-Life Balance. Today we are lucky enough to have Adam Rosenberg with us. So welcome.
Hi,
Thanks for coming on.
Adam's
Thank
the
you.
founder of AGB.
Real estate.
Real estate.
Yeah.
So maybe we should start with what's AGB stand for, Adam?
Actually, it's I've actually never told anyone this before, but it's always getting better.
First to know.
I love
Yeah.
it.
I love that.
It was just a name that I came up with for a business that I started many years ago, and that's kind of morphed into kind of an umbrella for all the things that I do.
Yeah, always getting better. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we all strive for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good daily reminder. If you see it on everything, it just kind of gets stuck in your head like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
a little
it.
nod to yourself because no one really knows what it means, and it kind of reminds you, for me, every day, kind of.
It's like
get
your
better.
mantra.
Yeah.
So we always talk, I don't know if you're, this is super side note already, but here we go.
We do this. I'm sorry. We get off base.
Yeah, we're totally about like saying the same, I don't know, mantras and all that. I don't know if you're into that, but like that's your saying every day. So we have like our own sayings too. And it's like, if you keep saying it, I feel like it just happens. It's
What is yours?
What's yours, Karen?
This too shall pass.
Yep, that's mine.
That's a good one.
That's mine.
That's
You
ours.
guys share
yeah.
a mantra? I
Yeah,
think that's why you guys are partners, I guess.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you said that AGB has become an umbrella. So is that umbrella falling into real estate now? Kind of tell us how you got
Well,
into
I've been in
that.
real estate for over 15 years.
Okay.
But in between, I like to have a few things that I get involved in as well. Over the pandemic, I started, came up with a concept that was basically disposable gloves, essentially in a condom wrapper. Essentially, yeah, I came up
Stop
with the idea.
it. Oh my God, I
It
love
looked like
it.
a condom wrapper, but it wasn't. Obviously, I came up with the idea. I was at home, just like everyone else. I'd actually gone home for a family event to where I'm from, which is DC, the DC area, and I saw when you get a printer, some gloves come in, like what looks like a condom wrapper, so that you don't get print on your hands. And so at that moment, I was like, well, I think people, because during the early days of the pandemic, we didn't know how it was transmitted, and so I literally overnight came up with the concept for Glove and Go, which is, and I designed the name and then the packaging. Used Alibaba for the first time, and then within a month, they had landed in the U.S. and sold them on Amazon. That was the first.
That's
time
incredible.
Oh
sold
my
on
gosh.
Amazon, yeah.
The
That's
best ideas
amazing.
coming out of COVID. I love
I
it.
know. And Glove and Go. I mean, that's so like appropriate.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So do you still have that going on?
I don't. There was a ethical dilemma. I'm, concerned about single-use plastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, I justified in my mind that it was for emergency purposes and for hygiene. And so, after about a year passed, and we kind of understood that it wasn't COVID wasn't really transmissible via touch. I stopped it.
You stopped it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Wow. So, but you're still doing real estate in
Yes.
this time
Yes.
frame, or did that kind of halt too because of COVID?
No, I was working for a company, and we were in the thick of it. So it was a short-term rental startup, and as you can imagine, within a matter of days, all of the reservations were canceled. So we had to pivot quickly to be more of a what became work from home. And so all the short-term rentals that we had were focused on business travelers already before the pandemic started. So we pivoted to 30+ day rentals, and it was we actually did very well, and we're one of the companies that thrived or survived and thrived.
So you focus on people that were staying a little longer, like month to month.
Yeah,
Yeah, not the travelers.
Well, travelers who maybe people were in New York and need to get out of New York, or wanted to get out of New York and go down to Nashville to work from there and have a real apartment, so a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom that they could
that's
live
Get
and work
out of
from.
where they were staying before
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah. So Glove and Go didn't take a lot of my time
Right.
because you just send it to Amazon and
Yeah.
they fulfill it. But AGB,
Yeah.
was a company that I.
Is that kind
had
of like a form of drop shipping that Amazon does and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, drop
Straight
shipping
up.
is so there's if
And now we're really going to get off on a tangent.
I
I'm
was back on
sorry.
e-commerce too, but so you have various risk rewards for e-commerce, and the highest risk and the highest reward is you're taking on the product and then you're fulfilling it yourself. So that could be T-shirts, it could be whatever. You're making it, and then you're holding the inventory, and then you're selling it.
Right.
And then the other one is fulfillment by Amazon or fulfillment by a third-party logistics company. So you buy it, you send it to them, then they sell it. And then drop shipping is you basically take no risk, but your profit is very small because
They take on all the risk.
yeah. So I'm basically shuffling you orders, and then if an order happens because of me, then I take a very small cut. So it's not drop shipping, but it was a low risk, kind of pretty high reward.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
True. Well, yeah, that's awesome. I think that it's good to note that your company kind of pivoted and did whatever it took to survive in the hard times. But if you can go, like, kind of give us some backstory on you and how you got into real estate. Did you start as an agent or did you start in development?
No. So I started in development, finance. So I actually went to Vanderbilt undergrad and graduated and worked for Deloitte doing IT security consulting.
Oh, wow.
I know it sounds riveting.
It does. That sounds fun.
And it kind of dawned on me that it really wasn't how I wanted to spend my career. So after a number of years doing that, was lucky enough to be admitted to NYU to get my MBA at Stern. And so went for 2 years, some of the best years of my life, and then graduated into the Great Recession, which was not the plan. I think 10% of top 10 MBA students graduated 40% graduated without a job. So the plan is to go to business school and then get a job going out of it.
Of course.
Unfortunately, I was one of the few that were focused on real estate finance at Stern. Did not graduate with a job, but was lucky enough to find a job shortly thereafter for a very small real estate development firm in New York that had only done high-end residential condo development in New York City.
Okay.
So when I joined, they had just acquired a building in Panama City, Panama, to convert a apartment building into a boutique hotel. Okay. So that was a trial by fire, very incredible experience that allowed me to get my understand that. Well, what dawned on me is that creatives don't necessarily have to create paintings or sculptures or anything like that. Creative can be multiple different things. And that was a realization for me then because, I had to get involved in raising equity, placing debt, interior design, construction, interior design.
Like everything.
Everything.
Yeah. You had your hands in all of it.
Yep. And so that was a lot of fun and the very challenging. So I spent 2 to 3 weeks there a month and then come back to New York and go back and forth and back and forth.
My goodness, it's a lot.
Yeah. And we opened in 2012 and it did fantastically. We were awarded to Fodor's top 25 new and noteworthy hotels in the world list.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
And in that area for Panama, it was a breath of fresh air because we were bringing something new and exciting. That was really the concept, which was let's look what's happening in New York and Miami and London and translate that sensitively to an emerging market, which is Panama. A lot of people in Panama travel back and forth between the U.S. Instagram was on the rise, so people were kind of exploring and finding what they were really wanting outside of their backyard. Sure. And then also there were a lot of expats who were traveling there as well. So it really kind of was at the nexus of food and beverage and art. Each room that the hotel had a different local artist that did artwork in the hotel room. And people loved that. And then we had a rooftop bar and it was incredible.
So fun.
Yeah.
And that incorporated so much culture too.
Yes. Awesome. And that was a kind of draw for people to come there outside of a restaurant or a bar.
So how big of a place are we talking? Like how many rooms?
It was small. It was about 15 rooms, but largely food and beverage. So it was imagine like a boutique hotel with a very lively rooftop bar that several hundred people came to a night. And the restaurant had about 80 seats.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's like the kind of place I like to hang out.
Yeah, it's still there.
That's more my jam right there. That's great.
That's fun. So what was your like specific job? Did you just have your hands literally in everything, or were you just like a contractor over all of it? Like what was your role down there?
So because the company only had 2 other people, including the founder, my colleague, she was responsible for one of the developments in New York, and the sole responsibility fell on me from a project manager perspective. So that's why I was able to have my hands in all those different buckets. So, liaise between the general contractor and the architects and, making decisions for the interior design. I came up with the food and beverage concept, heavily involved in the naming. And then, when it opened, made the playlist for, the
music.
Create the ambiance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so great. Well, and that's so not your major. Like, I mean, a little portion of it is the finance and the business side, but to tap into your creativity. And I mean, most of the people that are really business minded don't have that other side of it. So that's amazing. You have the creativity brain and the business brain,
Yeah. But I think that people do have the creative side in them. That's what I was alluding to earlier, is that, you can be a creative, and that can be in Excel spreadsheets. That can be in writing business plans.
Yeah, that's true.
So it can kind of come through in different ways that I think now is more maybe widely accepted. But in 2012 or 2013, around then or before then, it's just like either you're an artist because you create neon signs, or you're an interior designer. But I really do think that people can display their creativity in many different ways.
So now that you've got, that's done, that project's done. I mean, you still probably that was your forefront.
Yeah.
And then from there, did you stay in Panama and continue, or did you come back over here?
No. So, the light bulb went off is, okay, you can translate these concepts that are proven elsewhere to other places. And so, emerging markets, in my mind, doesn't have to mean outside the U.S. borders. So I looked around the U.S. and wanted to do something similar. And this was around this time was when WeWork was starting to really kind of come into popularity and kind of co-working. The Soho House was starting to grow. And so the concept that I came up with, which later became known as Leiden here in Nashville, was bringing 3 distinct concepts under one roof. And that was the Soho House type community, membership community, WeWork, and a lifestyle hotel like the Ace or Standard.
Wow.
So came here I returned back to Nashville in 2014 and started talking to local Nashvillians about the project and the concept. And was very fortunate to have a number of investors believe in me and the team that I created and invested. Unfortunately, the project did not go forward.
Bummer.
Yeah. I wasn't the first, and I won't be the last entrepreneur who I think had a great idea that may have been a little bit too early. Okay. Because I think if we look at Nashville now, and I think that was 2014, 2015, large institutional real estate investors or family offices who I needed to attract to really, it was a 200,000 square foot ground up development, which was going to happen in Sobro, which would have been fantastic.
Oh, dang it.
They just weren't looking at Nashville. Yeah. They knew where it was on a map.
But not like it is today.
Right.
Now it's like everybody and their mother wants to be a part of it and the growth, but you would have been at the forefront of that.
Yeah.
Well, hold up. Why did you see Nashville as such a good place to do that? Like what really drew your eye here?
It's a good question.
It's a great question. So I looked at DC, which is where I was from, and Nashville. And when I looked at the 2 cities, Nashville had the creatives here, which I think is an important part of a vibrant membership community. You had healthcare. You had finance, you had startups, you had all these siloed institutions that really never crossed paths. And then you had the je ne sais quoi of like the performers, so the famous people. So you wanted that to kind of have some allure to it.
Yeah, because you're going, they're at the private club. I want to go to the private club. Yep. Yeah, everybody wants to be where they're at. So that's a great point too. Yeah. Sure.
So that's what I was like, okay, I think Nashville has this thing, and I saw or thought that Nashville was going to grow. Did I think it would grow to the extent that it did over the next decade?
Insane.
No. Yeah. But that's why I chose Nashville. And I think it would have done fantastic. I mean, none of the Soho House is here, and they built a great brand and a great business around that. Completely different location in terms of where it is in town, but I applaud them for recognizing Nashville, many years ago.
And that goes back to risk and reward, though, because for all the investors, like, they have no idea what's going to happen with the market. Yeah, you can tell them, Nashville in 10 years it's going to be booming, but I mean, for them, it's like, okay, well, I'm about to come out of my pocket so much money, and you're telling me, like, hopefully it'll happen, but you don't know.
10 years. Yeah, right. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, no one wants to be...
We don't have the crystal ball. We say that all the time.
Yeah. And then in 2018, 2019, every development company had to be here. And that's what you're seeing now.
Yeah, and the skyscrapers that are growing, the cranes that are, every time I go downtown, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's another one.
Yep.
There's another building that's going up. It's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's amazing because it just brings opportunity. And for all of us in the business, it's just, we know the sky's the limit legitimately here in Nashville. Like, the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
It's an incredible experience for all of us to be a part of.
I love going to, the hotels that have the rooftop bars and looking out on the skyline. You're just like,
so cool.
For those of us who have been here, in early 2000s, seeing the skyline now is incredible.
It has to be kind of
So
like shocking. Like that wasn't there. I've only been here 2 years. So to me, I'm like, this is just a big city.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I love to see the growth, and that continues to grow. But I didn't get to see it when it was flatland. But I've heard so many things about that, especially like Franklin, downtown
It's so
Franklin.
different now.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being a kid and driving through Nashville, and it looked completely different than how it does now.
I bet.
Like, totally different. Even just walking from, like, parking garage to go to the Titans Stadium, the walk is completely different now because now there's all these buildings and restaurants, and they've torn stuff down, so it just has a whole different feel to it. But
yeah, it's
really cool
great
to see.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Nashville?
Well, college, so I consider that. That's over 20 years ago. Yeah. And then more substantially since 2014, 2015. I left after the lighting did not go forward. I always tell the story that on the morning that my land fell out of contract, I luckily had to go take care of my niece and nephew, who were, I think, 7 and 5 at the time, or 4 at the time. So it allowed me to kind of get my head out of that space. But I received a call from the Tennessean reporter the night before asking if I had any comment. And I said, no. And he's like, okay, well, we're going to write a story about it. Because we had done publicity and people were very interested in it. And again, people were very supportive of it. And I went to the airport and checked the Tennessean, and it was on the front page of the business section. And they had chosen the biggest font I think I had ever. I mean, the font was like this big, basically like Adam failed. That's the way I saw it. But the funny thing was, and I kind of hold on to it, was that like it was right below a story mentioning Sir Richard Branson and how the Virgin was going forward. So I like to say that was on the same paper as Richard Branson. But like front and center, middle, and that won't hurt. Yeah.
Dang it. But you learned a lot, I'm sure. I mean, that's probably where you're at today from so many stepping stones, right?
Yep.
So tell us what happened after that. So lighting goes away, refocus, regroup, now what?
Yeah, lick my wounds for a few years. Yeah. I kind of was like, I'm done with real estate. And, because of my technology background, wanted to kind of immerse myself in technology, and became director of operations for an e-commerce platform, which is kind of how we were talking about there, why I knew about that. Yeah. And helped to grow that company for a few years, and real estate is just in my blood. So I missed it and had the opportunity to join the short-term rental startup. Okay. After they had just raised their Series A. Was part of that team for 3 years, and then was approached by my now business partner about an opportunity here in Nashville. Okay. Which is what I do now, which is what AGB Real Estate focuses on. Which is taking dilapidated or underused real estate and converting it to money-making machines.
Love it.
And so we focus on motel to apartment conversions.
Okay. Now, I have to just ask this question right off the bat, because I know Metro is getting so difficult to get those permits. Is there like a little niche there because you're not in a residential home to be able to get that permit to convert to an Airbnb?
Okay, so these are not Airbnbs.
Okay, these are 31 days plus?
These are apartments that you rent for a year.
Okay. So these are not your short term.
These are not short term rentals.
Okay. See, I was under the impression too from what we had talked to Evan about that it was all short terms.
No.
Okay.
Evan and I had worked on my personal Airbnbs. So that's how I know.
Okay, that's probably where I got crossed.
Good. I'm glad you just straightened that out because I'm thinking you're taking a motel and you're converting it to an Airbnb. Okay. That's got to be so different with the permit phasing that it would be like, we have an Airbnb downtown. So I know what that looks like. But
Metro has taken, pretty aggressive stance against any sort of kind of multi-unit short-term rental development. And so our first project here in Nashville, we have two now, but the first one is in Hermitage.
Okay.
And part of that, we had to go through a whole rezoning process, which took 6 months. And the SP specifically disallowed short-term rentals.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is what they're doing, I think, on basically any type of rezoning.
Yeah. Okay. So you're taking a dilapidated, crappy, old apartment and you're making it bomb.
Yeah.
You're just making it a sick ass place that people want to stay.
Yeah. I mean, this motel had, illicit activities going on there. So, the councilwoman, who's become a great partner in this effort, was very supportive of our requests to take it through the rezoning process and was very supportive of that.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of the headache out of the way, having to deal with all of that. So,
I mean, it is still a process. You still have to go through planning and codes, and that process. I'm proud to say I think we did it as quickly as anyone could do it, but there were, some difficult like why is this taking so long periods?
Yeah. So how many rooms and how big is the project that you're working on?
So it's 108
right now?
units.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 108 units, and they're all studios. So what we're really focused on is the working class. So people who live and work in Nashville, but have been priced out because of all the development that we were just talking about, where the affordability of good housing has become very difficult. So these are attainably priced studio apartments. So depending on, so we do 12, 9, 6, 3 month lease terms, and the 3 and 6 months are for your traveling nurses who are so needed here,
which is amazing here for sure. Yeah.
And so it'll, if you have a shorter term, it'll be slightly more, but they're around $1,100 a month.
It's not bad for Hermitage too. I mean, that's a really good location. You have all the hospitals around there too.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a hot spot, and it's growing out there so much too. My grandparents live in Donaldson right there, and I grew up in Hermitage. Even seeing that grow too has been insane over the past 3 years. Not even just the past 10 years. It's grown so much out there.
Yeah.
So everything's getting pushed.
Yeah. So you have, airport workers, all the distribution centers. So Chewy has a big facility out there. Under Armour has a big facility out there. So people who just need a great place to live. So we have a pool, we have a barbecue deck, a dog run. So it's a great place. It's a great place to live right off the highway. Yeah. So it's maybe a 10, 12-minute drive right to downtown.
Okay.
So
that's great.
It's really
super
accessible.
able to pay $1,100 and live there and transport or go downtown. Yeah. So what do you have it fully booked? Are you?
No. So we are just about to call for our final inspections.
Okay.
And so we'll start the pre-leasing maybe the end of this week, beginning of next. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So exciting.
And then you have another one going at the same time? Or
so we just put another one, 124. I think we'll add a few more units to it. But that was it'll be our first affordable project. So it's for Section 8 voucher holders who, again, they're just being priced out here. So I have 3 projects that are attainably priced and one that is affordable.
Okay. I mean, I live for Section 8.
That's what I was about to say.
We owned a lot of rentals in California before we moved out here. And I loved Section 8.
Yeah.
Because the check was always in the mail. You weren't chasing the money. It just, that was coming.
Yeah. We've had conversations about this before.
And I'm assuming that's the same out here, but Section 8 has their own requirements. And they come and check at the property once a year. So if you're a tenant that's taking, whatever their subsidized amount is, then you're treating it like crap or whatever it might be. They give a list of you need to fix this. And it's a tenant responsibility, and then it's a landlord responsibility. Yeah. So it kind of keeps them accountable. You can't just be a slouch and ruin the property because you're living off the government in sense. So I liked that because it kept them accountable, and I got my money on time.
Yeah, I mean, so I brought in a friend who I've known since 5th grade, who still lives in DC, who has several hundred Section 8 apartments himself. So,
several hundred,
yeah.
Wow.
So he's bringing the expertise and the know-how, what questions to ask, and how to create the relationship with the service providers. There is a way to mitigate, I think, the downside that people anticipate or hear about, the worst stories. But again, just because people are unhoused doesn't mean that they're unworthy of decent housing. So, doing the motel to apartment conversion allows us to provide housing for people who can afford it and who can afford $1,100 a month, or are just looking for a chance to kind of elevate where they are right now, which is living on the streets or a place that isn't
anything's
safe.
better than that. Yeah. So that's wonderful. I love that, because they're giving them a roof, and that's just
some hope too.
It gives them hope. I mean, it's not about me, because I just remember like the stories of those people that are living on the street, and when you give them a second of hope, so I still speak to those tenants. They're not even my tenants anymore, but they're so thankful that you saved my life in a sense. Like, I was sleeping under a park bench.
Yeah, and that's why they treat your stuff better. We had this conversation, I think, on another podcast episode. She was telling me all kinds of crazy stories that she's had at some of her Section 8 housing.
Right.
But a lot of them, like you're saying, are so grateful and so gracious of you. They'll continue your relationship thereafter.
Yeah, and I think it's the epitome of doing well by doing good. 100%. And so if we can do that, certainly in our hometown, then I'm all for it.
I love that.
Yeah, so that'll be 124, maybe 126 units, and it'll be a safe environment. We're going to create a place for them to live, and it's different than emergency housing, which is just put the unhoused in a temporarily in a hotel. Yeah. This will have a full kitchen, completely remodeled. So we're excited.
So what did that time frame look like from you picking up that to completion?
So the one in Hermitage, we put it under contract in I think Christmas Day, 2021.
Okay.
And we went through the rezoning process, which was a 6 months process. So you have to go in front of the city council 3 times and obtain approval. Mm-hmm. And all that while we were working with our architects to design the units. And so let's see, so we acquired it in mid-June. We obtained the demo permit in mid-July. And we'll finish around March 1st. So that's about a 9-month process. It was very quick.
That was very quick.
Yeah, and which is the reason I'm so excited about it is because now in today's challenging development world, where my interest rate on my bridge loan right now is almost 11%.
Oh.
So a lot
you need to get out of that.
You're let's get these over and finish.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not alone, and that's what makes development challenging sometimes, is because the money is very expensive in this bridge, between acquisitions and stabilization, and we're able to do that in 9 to 12 months. So that's why for me this model is so exciting, because you can do well by doing good, and take a dilapidated asset in Hermitage, your hometown, that was blighted and was creating a problem for the neighborhood and for the community.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Turn around quickly and hopefully the city is supportive of it, and then you can kind of get through the planning process quickly.
So that's the plan, is to continue this path now that you've got,
so
you've got the envelope and you know what you're doing?
We have 2 now, one in Tulsa.
Okay.
And then one in Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so about 500 doors, give or take.
And all very good spots to have them
managing
too.
all this? Are you going to have on-sites on each?
He said me. Actually, I am.
You're going to be like this all day long?
Thanks for making time for us. You obviously have so much going on.
The development process is myself and my business partners.
Okay.
And, this first one that I did in Hermitage literally bought everything that goes into the units. So the doors, the faucets, the P-tax, the beds. I mean, so we're doing some furnished because of the
so furnished. That's great
for the traveling nurses who only need to be here for 3 or 6 months. So my fingerprints, just like the hotel in Panama, are all over this project. And so now we understand what it takes, what questions to ask ahead of time about fire life safety, all the potential gotchas that pop up in any project.
Right.
So that is I want to have several thousands of doors in the next several years.
That's the goal?
Done, yeah.
Okay, I do want to circle back for a second because I have a question for you. So I kind of stalked you on Instagram a little bit, as I do pretty much everybody. So
Sure, yes, you do.
Yes, I do. I'm a little FBI agent. So I saw that, I think it was Spanish, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were speaking Spanish, right? Did that, okay, unless I was being crazy, unless it was like subtitles or something.
No, I'm just wondering what, you know what, I do speak Spanish. I'm just wondering what.
Okay.
What,
it was a video of you walking through your job site, I'm guessing through the motels that you're converting.
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, so thankful for my team. My general contractor is originally from Venezuela, and they, you know, the workers that he was able to bring to the site are very, very hardworking. And I think one of the reasons why we're able to do this in 9 months were because of them. I mean, they're working so hard. I'll send them, you know, buying pizza or take them out and try and like create a relationship with them to thank them. Let's let them know my gratitude for that. But my dad is from Central America. And one of the things that really attracted me about the Panamanian project was to go down there and, you know, be immersed back into the Latin culture, which I identify. Now, my name doesn't. You could have 30 guesses, and you wouldn't think that my dad was from El Salvador. And I've dealt with that my whole life because I do identify with that side of my family, and take pride in it and the ability to speak Spanish. Yeah.
I was going to ask you when you were down there, if there were any cultural barriers, or if the ability to speak Spanish helped you down there. Absolutely. And how that's translated here in real estate in Tennessee too.
Yeah. So being able to speak Spanish in Panama, certainly in the pre-development phases where I was just doing research on what I thought the food and beverage scene was down there, and making real connections with people down there that allowed me to find the artists that we brought into each individual hotel room, and then interacting with the general contractors and the workers, speaking Spanish to be able to understand the legal side of what we were actually doing, because we raised debt from Panamanian bank down there. So it absolutely helped, and I think allows me to create that relationship with the workers who are on site here. Now, Panama, the legal system is based on the U.S. legal system. So that's why investors feel more comfortable investing in real estate or investing in investments down in Panama, because the legal system allows you to have title to the land, and it's not a banana republic and some unfortunate other countries where you could own something one day and then the next day the government just takes it from you.
Right.
So that allowed them to have the confidence to invest in the project.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I know that investing in other countries, there's so many hoops to jump through. But I imagine speaking Spanish helps you in every single way in your life. I need to learn it. I think it would be very helpful in real estate and just all aspects of life. But
add that to your plate
because of the video. I know.
You start taking Spanish lessons.
So on everything else I do, just start doing some Duolingo in there.
When you're driving, why not?
I know, right? Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask him. So, you're obviously extremely busy, and I'm so admire this whole conversation because I think it's just fantastic. And I don't know if you have a family or anything, but our whole concept here is the whole work-life balance.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How are you balancing? I mean, you're going to be running a lot of homes together, right? All your doors. So how are you balancing your life and getting out and blowing off some steam?
Yeah.
Or family or whatever you've got going on.
You do.
Yeah. I try and create as processes and routines.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have a whole morning routine. I don't get up at 5 a.m. I think most people. I just can't get up that early. It's just
let's hear it, because we're all about morning routines.
But I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. either.
Me either. No.
I know some people are like, wow. I mean, it's impressive. It's just not me. And so I think I tried that for some time, and I think you have to know who you are and kind of what just feels good. I get up early. I get up around 6:30, and I do meditate. I not as much as I think I would like to, but it has shown some benefits for me. I'll then go work out. I'll check emails, but I won't do any emails before that. Otherwise, I can get next thing you know,
in the rabbit hole.
10 a.m.
In the rabbit hole.
Do it. If I don't work out in the morning, it just won't happen. So I do that, and then I make time. Right now I'm going back and forth between New York and Nashville, but I'm here, basically until this project is done. And in those places, as much as I can, I try and plan, dinners with friends, and travel.
Travel. Do you work hard to travel?
I do. I mean,
cheers to that. That's like my motto. I'm like, I will work till the day I die as long as I can travel as much as I want.
Take a week off every now and then. Go do whatever you need to do to, like Kara said, blow off steam. You have to get out of the rabbit hole and the rat race that
and
we're
just
in.
unplug from all of it. I'm sure it gets daunting, You guys got a lot going on, so it's just nice to kind of clear the brain for a minute.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And the traveling for me, lucky. I think I've 70 countries to date.
Stop it.
What'd you say?
Yeah.
70? Is there that many countries? Just kidding.
That's insane.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great for you. You're probably so cultured and seen
I have
everything.
my parents to thank. I mean, they really instilled that in my sister and I when we were younger, and afforded us the opportunity to travel to Latin America to visit El Salvador. And when before El Salvador was safe, there was a very small window in which it was safe, but we would go down to Latin America, and allowed me to travel. Study abroad down there as well.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, in terms of my work-life balance, I would say that if I had to grade myself, I'd probably give myself a C-. But that doesn't mean that that's where I'll stay. So, I want to have a couple thousand doors. So how do I do that? We have built a team, which really what 2023 is about. Not only just on the property management side, which we're hiring companies that have the experience.
Yeah. You're not going to try to run that.
No, because I think in the future, when we have several hundred doors already, filled up, I think having a property management company is something that I have aspirations to do, to create that, those fees.
Sure.
That, as opposed to, lumpy development and acquisition fees. And just building a team that, is able to support us on the acquisitions and discovery side.
I love it. This stuff just makes my I just spark up.
I know you have so much going on. I'm just really honestly inspired by what you're doing though, because not a lot of people, especially in this day and age, care about helping other people, and you do, and it shows in your work and what you do and how you talk about it. So that's just very inspiring, and I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing that with us.
Yeah, thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for taking a little time out of that day of yours.
Absolutely.
Doesn't sound like you have much of it, so I'm glad Evan.
But this is fun. You got to do fun stuff that's fun and meet interesting people. And if anyone has any questions, please reach out to me at adam@agbrealestate.co. No, not .com. .co.
.co.
Yeah. And I just love hearing from people and any questions, and from aspiring real estate developers. Always happy to answer any questions.
That was my one question that I didn't get to ask you.
Oh,
Thank you for bringing that up. One last question for you. Any tips for anybody wanting to get into development of real estate?
Yeah, I think there's no substitute for experience. My MBA allowed for, the reason I got my MBA was because I did not have a kind of a finance background. I studied economics and business administration at Vanderbilt, with also a major in essentially human organizational development. So it's a weird combination, but allowed me to have a basic understanding of things. I mean, you don't really know what you're doing in undergrad anyways.
Right. Sure.
So I went back to MBA to kind of elevate my knowledge, and so I could understanding what was going on in finance, but there was really no substitute for, going down to Panama and getting your hands dirty. And if you can do that early in your career, learn under someone who will treat you well and give you the opportunities and allow you to learn on the job. Don't be afraid to ask the question. I mean, I'm very guilty of this too. You get to a job and you're like, I don't want to seem like I don't know what I'm doing. And then you're 3 months in, you're like, shoot, I should have asked those questions day 29 as opposed to day 159. Right. And so I would say, join a company that you admire and you admire that person. And then, if and when it feels right, go off on your own, and hopefully you have the people that will support you in your first project, and just go from there.
All right.
And that just explains why teamwork's so important right there. I think it's the people you have that surround you, really bring you up or make you pass or fail. Yeah. They help.
And it's okay to fail.
Yeah. I think you need to fail.
One of the first things we talked about is my big failure on the cover of the Tennessean. And, those scars, that scar tissue allows you to learn as well. Yeah, and I think a lot of investors want to see that you have some scar tissue, because then, you know, it's not always rainbows and butterflies in anything that we do in life, whether it be personal or career wise. And being able to get up and believe in yourself and continue moving forward, I think shows a lot about who you are.
I 100%
we talk
agree.
about that all the time. We've talked about the failure rate for people in real estate, agent wise, not as necessarily development wise. But I think that is probably a big reason that a lot of people fail, because they just get so bogged down by, oh my gosh, well, they told me no, or whatever the case may be, and then they're afraid to get back up and keep going the next day. So it really stunts their growth.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the last question.
Yeah, no, that was it. I know.
answered it
She got it.
beautifully.
She's following
Very
her.
beautifully.
She's following her list, and I forgot about it. I'm just intrigued by it. So I'm just listening. I
know.
I'm like, am I supposed to talk?
You get so wrapped up
Thank
in
you
it.
so much, Adam.
No, thank you.
I mean,
Thank you.
awesome. I mean, you're so inspiring. And can you come back when
I would
you
love to
have
come back on it.
1,000 doors?
Absolutely.
And tell us how you're balancing it.
Yeah,
at that
next year.
point,
Next
too.
year we'll come on and we'll talk about how it leased up and
gosh. We'll do a part two.
The Section 8 house
I'd love
project
to
should be
hear-
done as well.
I'd love
I
to
would
hear how
love to
that's
hear
going,
that.
and maybe we'll do a field trip and come visit
Yes,
you.
let's do that.
And see it.
We
That'd
can
be
do
cool.
that.
That'd be really cool.
Give some publicity to it.
Thank you.
For sure.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank
coming
you.
on.
Follow him. You're on Instagram, I'm sure. He gave
Yes.
you his website. As always, like, subscribe, share
Yeah,
us.
all that good stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure people are going to have questions for Adam. So please hit us up and we'll pass them on, get you the answers. But until next time, thanks
All right.
again.
Thank you.
See you
We'll
next week.
see ya.